I get a lot of emails about the Miami Heat. I don't know why, honestly, because if there's anything that's been consistent about me on this channel, like, we're about to make history. We're about to talk about Miami. So, like, put your seatbelts on, okay? It might only be like a tight 5-7 because I hold so much vitriol, truly, and disdain in my heart for this organization. And when you hear this email, you're going to be like, oh, this is funny timing. Yeah, this is why. I don't know what happened, dude. I go on vacation. I checked the email for the first time in a couple days last night to kind of get an idea of what I was going to talk about on today's show. Fucking like 6 emails about Miami. What's going on? Like, why do you guys want to talk about them so bad? Let's do it, though, because we have an email here from Philip. And Philip wants to know, well, why don't I just read the email? Hey, Nicholas, I've been following your work for a while, and I'm glad to see you're doing your thing with the new pod. What I wanted to email you about is why the Miami Heat team is so blatantly disrespected by TV personalities as well as people who cover the league on YouTube. The team was 1 3-point shot away from being in 3 of the last 4 finals, but more importantly, everyone wants to have conversations like, is this the year Jason Tatum steps up and wins a chip? And last year, nobody would shut up about how Jalen Brunson was this enormous game changer for the Knicks, but nobody talks about how the Heat have the best chemistry in the league, despite maybe Denver, and that the Heat are more than just a culture. Jimmy is the 3rd best team leader in the NBA, only behind Steph and LeBron. No, he's not. But let's unpack the rest of the email, Philip, because you bring up a really interesting question. And if at any point, I'm saying this specifically to you, Philip, not to any other Heat fans. Philip, if at any point I sound a little bit rude or disrespectful, it's not targeted at you. Okay? Great. If we talk about, like, what Heat culture is, because I think that honestly is kind of a fun mental exercise for me, is just asking random people, like, what do you think it is? Because I don't honestly know if there's a right or a wrong answer, because I honestly would argue that Miami doesn't even know all the time. But, like, it's about knowing who you are, right? It's a team that does not doubt themselves. There are no role players because everybody plays a different role. And if you're watching this, if you're not watching the video version of this, I am air quoting very hard that there are no role players. Because on any given night, different dudes on that team are going to have to do, like, different shit, right? It's all circumstantial. It's all about what the situation calls for. Accountability is a really big thing with this organization. They approach every single challenge, every single obstacle with a grin. You know, like, we welcome that shit. That's what we want. It's grit, man. Like, that's really what it is. I think the funniest thing about Miami is how impossibly bad they are at luring free agents or putting together trade packages that fucking anybody would be interested in. And you want to know why I think it's hard for them to put together trade packages that anybody would be interested in? Because a year ago, by the end of the season, they had played 12 guys that were undrafted throughout the season, 12 of them. And that's what's so funny, is it's like, if I'm Pat Riley, I haven't been able to lure, like, anybody here outside of, like, I don't know, Jimmy, which that wasn't hard because that marriage was just always going to happen, right? Like, he, you know, it takes a very specific kind of guy to want to fit in with that culture, you know what I mean? And Jimmy just always, as the agitator of the NBA, has always kind of been in that mold, you know? And then what's the other one? Like Kyle Lowry, and what has that experience been? It varies on who you ask. So it becomes really difficult to whatever. But it's funny that because they can't go get the guys that everybody wants, the Damian Lillards of the world, the Giannis's of the world, they can't get those guys. They just can't. For one reason or another, they just never get those guys anymore, right? I'm very aware about the big 3. Well, I'm not talking about that, right? It's fucking a decade ago at this point. Can you believe that? A decade since the big 3. So instead, they get the guys that literally nobody wanted. They go to the pool of undrafted guys, and they say, who can we turn into, like, a guy, a capital G guy? Who can we turn into a guy that's going to get a $90 million contract? That's, like, the fucking game that Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley like to play. You want to know what else is, like, a part of Heat culture, I guess, is Pat Riley locking free agents in a room and just, like, putting all of his rings on the table and being like, what do you think about this, fucker? You want this? You want a little bit of this? You want a taste of this? You can't leave this room until you sign this piece of paper, you fuck. Huh? That's always been crazy to me. You want to know, man, like why people don't like the team? You want to know like why people get rubbed the wrong way? It's because when your whole deal is that you work harder than everybody else, that the practices are harder than the games, so that way when you get to the actual game, it's like whatever. It's fucking annoying, is what it is. And at the risk of sounding like a hater, which, by the way, I am. When your leader, to your point, is Jimmy Butler, and I would argue, I mean, it's semantics. To your point, he's not top 3. Okay, I'd put him at like 5. So like, what are we even? Who cares, right? What are we talking about? But when that guy, when his whole bit is just pissing as many people off as he possibly can, in some way, do I feel like he's infringing on my territory? Not really, because that's not really my gimmick anymore, at least. It's annoying. But everywhere he's gone, it's so clear that he has this predilection for stirring shit up. That's just what he does, right? When he was in Chicago, how did that end? Go look that up. How did that end? Wasn't pretty. You really want me to do another 5 minutes on what happened in Minnesota? Probably not, because we're fucking beat over the head with it. We're beat over the head with like this alpha dog mentality that he brings to the table. I fucking get it. He doesn't want to play with bad players. Find me a guy who does, right? It's annoying. It gets old. It's a tired shtick. Even if they win games, which, by the way, what's funny is they don't. Like, they don't until it matters. And then the Heat are going to win a bunch of games. Like when they lose in the play-in and then still end up in the playoffs and then they fucking like go to the finals. Like they fuck around and they, in the regular season for 8 months, they're like, none of this matters. And then May rolls around and they turn into the big 3 Heat. It's crazy. It's really annoying. And then he goes to Philly and we're all kind of like, whoa, is this going to work? He puts on the ninja headband. You want to know something about the ninja headbands? Have I delivered this take yet before? You guys don't miss those. You don't. You're going to say you do in the comments. You know why you miss them is because you can't have them. That's why. If you could, and dudes could still wear them, yeah, I agree. They look cool. Like, I agree they look cool. I don't give a shit. I don't care. And I'm a guy who cares about on-court fashion. I care about that shit so much. By the way, how about Asar Thompson wearing the mask? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He looks so cool. He looks so cool. Would also be a funny way to be able to identify the difference between him and his brother. Is one of them, okay, so it's Asar that wears the masks. But he's not going to fucking like be wearing it in public. What am I even talking about? Let's get back to the subject here. Why do people hate the Heat so much? Because Heat fans don't know how to be the villain. Like, everybody in retrospect loves the idea of playing the heel and being like that WWE villain until it's actually you. Until you're the one that's out there being the agitator and stirring shit up and being annoying and talking a bunch of shit, again, even when you're winning a bunch of games. And then it's like you are just so protective of your own team that you take it, you're so defensive of it. I think, honestly, what would make the Heat more likable is if their fans would just embrace it. If their fans would just embrace that everybody fucking hates you. Everybody does. They do, because you guys are assholes. You know why you guys are assholes? Because you have history, because you have culture, because you win games that matter, because you have players that can play in big moments and those players talk a lot of shit. It's crazy that it's a team that can have as much ego as it does while also having none at all. Do you know what I mean? Like, you watch these Heat teams and how unselfish they are, but the second that they get that opportunity to remind you of how fucking different they are, they will do it. They will talk about that. What's that bullshit that they printed on the court? On this, on their, it's on their, like, in-season tournament court, right? Or is it on their City Edition court? Whatever one it is, where it's like, whatever that they printed. Maybe I'll put up a graphic of it on the screen. Dumb. Oh, tomato, 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 corny, boo. But that's the identity, right? Talk about the Heat being like a WWE villain, like the heel. Jimmy Butler transcends that, dude. Jimmy Butler is a Bond villain. The shit that he does at Media Day, like, he terrorizes people. There has only been one time, honestly, in my life that I was like, that shit was so cool that Jimmy Butler did. And it was the game in the finals where he put up, 50 in the bubble. And the meme where he's like hunched over. The bubble finals. Like, that game was like I tip my cap, dude. You literally did everything that you possibly could. And then he just went back to being annoying. The final sentiment that I have for you here, Heat fans. Just let it pile on. Stop questioning why people hate Heat culture so much. Stop questioning why people hate your basketball team so much. Because you don't have anything to worry about. Because you're going to win games.
Computers now have
You're going to win games.
Beautiful, beautiful,
primary control,
beautiful,
primary control,
beautiful.
primary control.